Awesome. Well, very excited to talk to you about Topsy McGee and the Scarab of Solomon. That's a graphic novel that you both have coming out, and you also did like a trailer of this. I guess let's first get into the origins of this awesome kind of steampunk story.
Thank you. Well, we realized in sort of sitting down together today to sort of like piece out what information we were going to disseminate
Yeah.
that we came up with the idea for Topsy as a character.
Okay.
We didn't have her fleshed out yet, but just as a character a very long time ago. We've been married almost 23 years.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we used to, thank you. We used to kind of just like tell each other stories. Like we'd be waiting on a bus or we'd be like doing some sort of travel and just sort of to entertain ourselves. We would just tell each other stories, kind of like we have a son now who was waving at us, which is why my husband said, go away.
We got this, bud.
But like, you know, you have a kid and the kid's like, tell me a story, like constantly, right? But there's this fun thing for us in telling each other stories because it's our sense of play and it was exciting for us. And we created Topsy as just this character that we like to tell stories about because we like the steampunk sort of world.
Yeah.
And so she kind of grew out of that. And then
We were at a convention, and I found an artist that I really liked, and in private, without telling Tara, I went over to the guy. I was like, "Hey, we have this character we like. Could I commission you to basically to do a piece of art of the character that's been in our heads for so long, for her birthday?" And it's basically Tara as that character, which the character has always been basically you.
if I were like British and more witty and
Right.
could do a rapier,
That's
maybe.
that's why we tell stories like this. It's all wish fulfillment.
Yeah.
But
No,
so, right?
that's
But
really
he did this-
cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so he did like beautiful art print of Topsy. And once that happened,
Hmm.
Like it
she became real somehow.
could kind of
Like
cult her into the world.
yeah. And then shortly after that, we just thought it looked so cool that we actually got the outfit made for me so I could wear
So
it
we
to
could-
a
yeah.
masquerade ball.
From the commissioned art, we got a commissioned costume based on the art.
so that I could wear it to a costume ball, which I'm sure there are pictures of me on the internet in this costume just because I went to the masquerade ball of Jareth. And so it was this awesome costume and I was like, this is so cool because like I'm basically Topsy right now. This is great. And then together we were like, oh, we have to do the film because that's
Yeah.
sort of where, you know, we're storytellers and we make movies. And so we were like, we got to make a movie of Topsy.
Yep.
And so from that short film, which was super cool, I mean, we were able to do stunts and we built an entire airship in a very tiny space. And like, it was really fun what we did with it. And John Delancey was in it and it was great fun. From
The
that,
trailer's great, yeah.
what?
The
Yeah,
trailer's amazing. You did a great job. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so from that short film, so the trailer is the trailer for
Yes.
the short film because the short film is
Yeah.
longer than the trailer.
Yeah.
But from that, a friend of ours who's in the industry, who's a writer,
He created Chris Pearson. He created the show Dan Versus.
Yeah.
Oh
so-
yeah, yeah. That's a good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he came to us and he's like, hey, you guys, I really like what you're doing. I really like this character. Would you be okay if I wrote the pilot episode for a live action TV show? And we were like, yes, we would be okay
Right.
with
Who
that.
says no to that?
Please go on. And so he wrote this stellar script. Like it's so much fun.
Mhm.
And of course we fell in love with it and then we tried to shop it around. But at the time,
Yeah, it was a bad time for steampunk and television. I think one of the major studios, who I will not name by name, had made had shot a pilot, a steampunk pilot, and it did not go over well. And so everybody was
Oh.
like,
it was
steampunk
hot potato
bad. Yeah.
with steampunk. So we didn't continue pursuing that, but we still kind of had a bugbear about like we really liked her as a character, and now she was becoming real, right? We have a movie and we have this idea and this image, and
She wouldn't let go.
No, she was like, "You guys,
like those stories, they kept coming to us.
and so she basically, like, you were like, we should do a comic because comics come out, they're like serialized. And so each comic can be a different adventure and it's a perfect format for this character. And we would still have permission and the rights to do it because it's our thing. We're not asking someone else to green light a project we want to make.
Right, we'd have a little more control over
Yeah.
actually making it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, we had never made a comic book before. And even though we're storytellers and we had done films and it's not completely.
And we had written books.
Well, we'd written books.
But
But it
Yeah.
isn't what we're known for and it isn't what we have skills in.
right.
And so we ended up having to find people to sort of shepherd us through. And actually that's how we came
Yeah.
across Comfort and Adam.
Yeah, Comfort
Okay.
and Adam, as known. Yeah, you had Comfort and Adam. Yeah, Comfort,
Yeah.
Love and Adam Withers. we had met them at a convention. So, you know, so much of this has happened because we attend
convention
conventions.
friends.
Yeah, exactly.
We had become friends years before, and we went to them and said, hey guys, you guys know a lot about doing this, and we know zero about doing this. What do you think of this idea, and would you be interested and willing in sort of shepherding us through this process? And they joined the team and were an invaluable resource.
Yeah, I mean, because they helped us look at people's portfolio, like, because we didn't, I mean, I hate to say this, I knew so little about comics. I read comics, but like I didn't understand the process. So I didn't actually realize that there was a different like artist and then ink and then coloring and then lettering. Like I wasn't aware. I just figured like someone draws the comic. Like it didn't make sense in my head. And so it was a real education for both of us in what it entails to make a comic and what the process is and
what the pipeline looks like.
And the timeline is its own thing too, because you have to get this completed before then you move to the next step. And then there's a series of sort of learning hurdles that we kind of had to manage. And during that process, it took us a lot longer than we thought. So we had to pivot.
Most self-financed things do.
Yeah. We had to pivot from our original plan of like, we'll just start releasing these ideas as comics very quickly to, okay, well, that's not going to work. And if we want to keep people's excitement and interest, what if instead of doing issue, like we did 3 as a trade paperback all together, and we could get it completed and the world isn't waiting with bated breath, but mad at us that we're
rather than releasing 1 issue and then us taking forever to get, you know, the second one done, because, you know, people lose interest.
That's why you decided to do the graphic novel instead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's, I guess graphic novels, trade paperbacks are sort of the equivalent of binging a TV show. You know, in a way.
That's a good point. I never thought of that.
I'd never really thought of that before either, but that's kind of,
So that's kind of how she came to be in the iteration that she is, which is a graphic novel.
That's really cool. The graphic novel comes out October 9th, right?
Yes.
That's right.
It'll be available on Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
As we're doing it ourselves, Amazon and, you know, print on demand seemed to be the way to go. As, you know, as much as we may not agree with Amazon on a lot of things.
Well, I think it's amazing. I mean, you both followed your passion. Yeah, it seems you've had this story and this character for a really long time, and you kind of, all the hurdles he made, he still never stopped, which I think is very inspiring for anyone else out there listening that also might be thinking about starting something like a film, TV, or even a comic book, you know?
That is something that we've hit again and again. There's something we want to do. We don't know how to do it, and we have to learn how to do it. And part of that is teaming up with people who do this much better than you, you know?
Or who've done it before, like get it. I mean, literally that's life, right? You find a mentor, you get advice from a friend, or you just ask for knowledge that you don't possess, because none of us start out knowing things, right? Like that's...
And we made plenty of mistakes in the process.
Yes.
I don't want you to think that now we're experts.
Mistakes were made, but and they cost us lots of money to fix them. But you do what you got to do. But like nobody knows anything when you start, right? Like everybody starts from the same place, which is not knowing anything. And then you make a bunch of mistakes, and in the making of the mistakes is the learning, and then you figure it out and you get better each time. And so
was that you inadvertently saying that our next Topsy graphic novel will be even better than this one?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Oh, maybe it'll be an animated series, because that's something that
I was gonna say that's kind of perfect for both of you, you know. So
you know, it's kind of funny that we didn't think of that avenue first.
No,
I think it's good that it's coming out the graphic novel first, then you kind of build an audience, then it can kind of snowball. Who knows? Might go back into live action. Who knows? Might go to animation form. You know.
Exactly. But what's kind of cool is this character in this world and this particular project has shown us that we really can. We can take this story, I don't mean this specific story, but this character, and any story we want to tell in any medium that we want to do it in. Like we're able to translate I mean, we could do a novel, we could do, like there's a lot of possibility with what we could do with her. And I think that's exciting for us as storytellers, because it's informing the fact that whatever the next medium we choose, we can choose a story that works for this character in this world in that medium. So if it's a novel, it's a long form story, what that would look like. Or if it's a feature film, it would be that sort of style. You know, like depending on what the medium is going to be, it'll inform what our tale will be to tell, but we have lots of tales to tell for whoever and whatever this world is, which is exciting to sort of play with because it's very open-ended. It's an open world.
Cool. Well, I want to take a step back because you're both very talented performers, actors, voiceover. Here at Bionic Buzz, we're all about people's passion. Where did your passion kind of get into this industry? Was it a certain TV show or movie that inspired, or something that was just naturally for you as a child? We'll start with you.
Yeah, we have sort of different origin stories, as far as that's concerned.
Because you're Spider-Man, is that what you're gonna say?
No.
You were bit by a spider. Okay, I'm just checking.
It's a very short story. I was bit by a radioactive spider. When I was a kid, even as a kid, I loved storytelling. I would draw a lot. I would make my own radio shows where I would play all the characters on a little, tape recorder. But I never, and I would write. I was definitely a writer first. I never considered acting, but I never thought that it could be any kind of like career or job. And I got to high school, and right at the I kept thinking, you should try like theater. You should try acting. It's something you've been interested in. I grew up loving movies. I still, love movies. Like if there was a job where I could just talk about movies all day, and I didn't have to be like a reviewer, like just talk about movies and how much I love them all day, I would take that job. But
you need to start a podcast, is what you're saying?
That's what we need, is another podcast. Another 50-year-old white guy podcast talking about movies. That's what we need. Which I literally did in my 40s. Me and a guy did a podcast all about Mad Max Fury Road.
Literally 2 minutes at a time, though?
4 minutes. We walked 4 minutes at a time.
Each episode was 4 minutes of the movie.
We literally talked about one movie for a year. There's 52 episodes. Anyway.
But people loved it. To be fair, it was rated, and people loved the show.
If you love Fury Road, yeah, it's a thing. But so I had wanted to try acting, but I was always like doing other things. I was, doing sports or playing Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. Like I never wanted to commit the time. And then in my last year, I was like, oh man, if I don't try this, I probably, when I get to college, I probably won't. And I tried it. I tried out for the plays they were doing that year. I got into the drama class in my last year of high school and just fell in love with it. And it got its hooks into me deep. But I never, even at that point, I didn't consider like, oh, what if I did this as a career? I was just assumed that I would go into the family business, and this would always be like sort of a hobby or, a fun time that I had, in a certain part of my life. But it wouldn't let go. And I did theater in college, and even after I graduated and went into like a normal job, I was spending all my time on the side. And I just assumed that, it would be more of a hobby. And so I got out of college, I got a real job, but I was using all my spare time. I was, doing plays and making stupid movies with my friends. And like, I'm still so in love with it, but then I thought, what, I have to try it. And if it doesn't work, I can always come back to my, government job. And I and that's where it went.
Still waiting for it to not work out so he can right.
Well, and work out is a very sort of dubious thought, because it took many years before I could make a living at it. But it was still so exciting to me on a day-to-day basis that I would sacrifice everything to keep doing that, even for free. So that's
And I guess for me, I grew up without a television. And so I was an avid reader. Like I just read and consumed everything I could. But I'm an only, and my mom and dad, they would take me every week. We would go to the movie theater, and like that was like our form of entertainment. We would just go see what was at the cinema. So like starting when I was like a week old, they would take me to like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like I just saw everything. Like, and my parents believed fully that regardless of my age, I could take in the content and process it and move on. And so like I saw a lot of movies growing up. It was like a movie a week kind of a thing. And that was just my experience. And so I came in to sort of my path, which was when I was about 9, my dad had had a midlife crisis and had gone from being an aerospace engineer making gyroscopic technology for spaceships to saying, gosh, I think I'd like to be a doctor. And so he went back to med school. And while he was doing med school, my mom, who enjoyed going to the theater and had done a little, some plays when she was in college, but she made her work was being a technical writer. And so she would take me to plays because my dad would be really busy studying all the medical stuff. And she'd be like, well, let's go see a play, or let's go to the library, or like she would sort of like hang out with me most of the time because my dad was studying. And so I remember seeing a play. I saw Oklahoma, the musical, and they had kids that were in the chorus. And I was like, what is this? And why can kids be in it? And I want to do that. And pretty much from that moment of like recognizing that kids could also participate in this like fun, splashy, exciting thing, that's when the acting bug kind of hit me. And I was like, okay, I want to do more of that. But as I got older, I realized that whenever I thought about acting, even though I started on stage and I did lots of plays, and I mean, I got my equity card when I was like 9 or 10, like I was doing professional theater. But I always thought movies, like that was always what I pictured, probably because from the like week I was born, it was a big screen with big people on it. Like that was like my vision is like movies is the conveyance. Like that's how you tell the story. And that's how the audience gets to have the cathartic experience of the evocative, emotional journey of responding to what the character is going through. And so I didn't even consider television. Like television was not on my roster. I didn't want to be in a TV show. I didn't
haven't seen a TV at that point, huh?
No, I mean, they knew what they were because like the kids would talk about it. But like, it
wasn't your everyday.
It wasn't my everyday.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch cartoons. I didn't play video games. Although I did have Joust on my computer, and I did like Joust, running the little guy back and forth. So like, even to this day, like I'm not a gamer. Like I'm in games.
I was gonna say
I don't play games. Like if I play a game, it's Spider Solitaire because it's by myself and I can do it quickly on my phone, and then I complete the game and I move on.
Right, I play Spider-Man and you play Spider Solitaire.
Exactly.
Right? But we both. I mean, I think we both had a similar vision when we met and we moved out to Los Angeles together. We moved out to Los Angeles to be movie stars, like everybody.
Because I think at the time, like that's all I could picture. Like that's what you do. Julia
Roberts.
Roberts.
You didn't both meet in LA. You met somewhere else first before?
No, we met in New York. We were in
okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but ended up moving out here to.
We drove cross country because he didn't want me to have to drive by myself across the U.S., which is very sweet of him. But then we hit Vegas and we got married.
Yeah.
So so we've been married almost 23 years.
Yeah. That's great.
But when we came out to Los Angeles, and while we were trying to be movie stars, trying to become movie stars, which is a very hard job. Just so you know, not many people. It's not something I'd hang my hat on. But we were trying to find other ways to make a living as actors, and
so voice acting kind of came for both of you.
Well, Tara suggested. She said, "What about voice acting?" Which is weird
because I didn't consume, like I didn't watch the cartoons, I didn't play the video games, but I was just trying to think about like what technically do actors make those voices on an elevator that says next floor? Like I was like, what jobs can an actor do so we can make some money?
Yeah, and then I felt really stupid that I hadn't thought of that because I'm the one who grew up watching anime and playing video games and watching movie or watching cartoons and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my god, yeah. But I don't know anything about it. And she said, well, let's take a class.
Because I'm a big proponent of learn it if you don't take a class.
That's good to know for everyone watching,
Yeah.
And that obviously started that branch of our journey, which has been so great.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I do got to ask about Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 because it's one of the greatest video games of all time, in my opinion.
Oh my god!
Not just the storytelling, but the action and the controls and everything. For Spider-Man 2, there were so many good like cut scenes that are very movie cinematic like. Wow, was that filmed like with you motion capture, or is you just all doing voice acting stuff?
Yeah, no, that was we were any cinematic that we were in
was us
filmed,
on the sound stage.
Yeah, on a motion capture or performance capture stage, and we shot it like essentially like you would a movie or almost like a play, with other actors. Usually, when you're recording just in front of the mic, it's one actor at a time, and they piece all that together. But in this case, it was me across from her sometimes fighting on the stage, so you had another actor to react off of. We were doing the scenes like we would in a film or a play, with the added benefit of having an amazing stunt crew, so that anytime we had to do something really Spider-Man-y or super cool, there was a
tag in.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you can do a backflip? Yes. Can you do that right there at the end of the scene?
Right.
So cool. All right. Well, you talked about convention scene earlier, how you got different people to come apart. I know you both do a lot of different convention appearances. Is there anything coming up you're allowed to talk about?
We do have some.
I think I'm trying to think of
I'm
what's
trying to remember
what's
what's
been
been
announced.
Yeah.
We know about it, but until they make the announcement, we're not supposed to say anything.
But-
Check our socials because I
There you
am
go. Yeah.
very good about staying on top of it. As soon as they make the announcement, then I make sure to repost it so that that goes out there.
But we have three or four more appearances
Coming
before
up
the
this
end of the
year.
year. I
Yeah.
think.
So
Awesome.
be-
We'll have all those social media links down below. And of course, your graphic novel drops October 9th. Everyone check it out. I'm sure you have links on your social media that day for when people can buy
yes,
Oh, we
it.
so
definitely will.
it's weird because it's like you schedule the date on Amazon. They don't give you the link to go live until the day of. So like I'll wake up early that morning and I'll get it and I'll start frantically posting about it. So
we will talk about
our
it. We'll try
socials
to
will have it live for the
we'll
night.
try to get people excited about it before
Yeah.
October 9th.
Yeah,
So
because
we-
also, but as like a little secret in the because we have our own production company and our own publishing company, and so we're self-publishing this. Everybody that can buy it on the first day, actually, really like algorithm-wise, is very important for sales. So like getting people to actually purchase on the 9th is wildly important because that's actually how you get like bestseller status on Amazon, which is important.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. So, but it is helpful if somebody's considering it
Maybe if we get enough people to buy it on Amazon
on the 9th.
on the 9th or early on, maybe when we pitch Amazon the animated show, we'll be like, like that
You think that
Amazon best-selling
Amazon
graphic novel.
Best-selling graphic novel. Wow.
That's how it works, right?
I
Yeah,
guess
I'm
you're
sure.
doing really well as an animated series. So
Wouldn't it be fun?
I
Yeah.
love the stuff that got sent to me. I was like, especially when they're fighting the swords and you're at dinner and he just pulls out the two knives.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's brilliant. I want to see that animated.
Oh, awesome.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, great.
Well, cool. Thank you both so much for taking the time to talk to me and
Great.
sharing
Thank
such
you for
wonderful
taking the
stories. And everyone, October 9th, mark that in your calendar. We're going to help the algorithm and get this going. I'd like to see
Great.
where this leads.
Algorithms. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and then thanks for taking the time to talk about it as well. We really appreciate it.
Awesome.